I'm here with Jeff Binder of, formerly of Broadbus and Motorola. He's now doing some freelance type stuff. I guess we'll find out what's next soon. But in the meantime, he has some really good words of advice for companies, young companies, especially startups, working in the cable space and how they need to work with the cable operators. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think as we talked about in the panel, there's a lot of challenges for young companies that want to sell into the cable space. There was some focus on the purchasing arms of the organizations, and I think the big key is to really understand what a given VP of engineering or technical organizational leader in a division or a region, and if it's a corporate purchase, obviously within the corporation, are going to be willing to put on the budget line item, and to make sure that you've got someone that's your champion and that can see that through. And if you don't, it's very difficult to succeed. And I think that's been one of the big challenges, is that companies have products that, and Michael Collette I think said it pretty straightforwardly, which is, if it's not a must-have, it's very unlikely it'll be purchased. And so if you've got a must-have, then I think you have to go through that process. If you don't have a must-have, then you need to seriously think about either changing your product roadmap, shutting your company down, or finding a different customer that falls into that category.
And that's one of the things that you did at Broadbus. You mentioned it on the panel at CableNEXT here, by the way. But you mentioned that you guys kind of had a diversified customer base. You weren't relying just on the cable industry.
Well, we had cable, and we had the telco video, emerging telco video space. But we also focused geographically on EMEA and APAC, and did very well in both EMEA with the UPC and becoming the largest VOD vendor actually in the EMEA region very quickly. And then substantial traction, and now what are pretty substantial deployments starting in China. And those two markets lend some support to a young organization. It's difficult, obviously, as you're a small company to try to attack multiple regions, but I think the value, the de-risking of the business plan is worth the extra effort and commitment that's involved in going into those markets, and it solves some of the concentration issues that we talked about on the panel.
The industry concentration.
Right, which I think becomes a lesser of an issue when you add those markets, and then you add the Verizons and the AT&Ts and the BTs and the Deutsche Telecoms and France Telecom. All of a sudden you've got maybe 20 or 25 big players, and it's not really two or three.
That makes sense. So, Jeff, good luck in your new ventures, and thank you very much for being on VOD TV.